talk about people. The skinny black girl with the nasty scar down her face. That red-headed boy who comes to school late, not like 20 minutes late, but like after lunch late. The cute Mexican boy with the shiny black hair, Chris, who has a crush on me. Susan, Lisa's best friend who used to threaten to beat me up, way back before Lisa and me became friends, and Lisa put a stop to all that. We don't talk about Lisa and her mother and sister being poor. We don't talk about how they all three sleep on one lumpy mattress, how when Lisa's mother sends us to the store for eggs and milk, she gives us food stamps, how the only heat in the house comes from the oven. No, I tell her about Michael and what cologne he wears, one-man show, and all the gory details of what we do when we fool around. She asks me if I like to suck it. I don't know what she means at first, but then I'm lying to keep up. Yeah, I like to do that, I say, but it's too big. Lisa cracks up. Too big? Girl, don't you know it ain't ever too big? Lisa is short, much shorter than me, but in her family she is the tallest and the darkest. Her mother's head reaches maybe to my breastbone, and with Lori it's the same way. Even though it's clear that they do, I don't think to myself that Lisa and Lori must have different fathers. I guess because we don't ever talk about fathers. Neither of us has one that's anywhere around at the moment, and in her house the whole idea seems like a moot point. Lisa's is a family of women. No man ever comes home, and the only time men are mentioned is when Lisa's mother says something in Spanish about all the boys calling Lisa on the phone and how Lisa better be careful with all those boys. She don't want no bebe. Lisa has lots of boys after her because she's cute and fast. She has a big butt and big breasts and a pretty smile. All of her boyfriends are way older. They're in high school or working already. Tonight Lisa's talking about Joe, Marvin's brother, and how she's through with him. Lisa says she's leaving Joe because he's stingy. He doesn't give her enough. I nod and say, yeah, you better cut him loose. But I'm not really sure what Joe's not giving her. Money, sex, attention. Lisa doesn't need any more clothes. She's got a whole closet full of red and fuchsia and yellow outfits from Emporium and Penny's and Miller's Outpost, stuff she steals on weekend trips to Serramonte. Lisa's really good at stealing. She walks around the store picking skirts and blouses off the racks, holding things up to her body in front of mirrors like she's going to buy them. The security guards don't pay her any mind because she calls attention to herself, asking me all loud in front of them if I think whatever she's looking at is cute or will it match the striped jacket she has at home. When they turn around, she stuffs it into her bag or up under her shirt, then tells me to come on and follow her out the door. After Happy Anniversary goes off, and then When We Get Married does too, Lisa asks me if I see myself getting married, and to who, and how do I want to live. For a second I'm surprised, taken aback. I haven't been in my own mind thinking thoughts about boyfriends or what I want to be when I grow up. I've been watching Lisa's full lips blow smoke rings, the way she holds the cigarette, not between her fore and middle fingers like girls are supposed to, but between her forefinger and her thumb like a guy. I've been watching her eyes move beneath the lids, noticing how naked they seem without the heavy black eyeliner she usually wears. Luckily, Lisa breaks back in before I can answer. She says she wants a big house and cars and a man who has bank. When she says bank, she slaps one hand top down onto the mattress for emphasis. He gotta have bank. It's cold, and so I push my legs a little closer to Lisa's torso, feeling for the warmth there. I think of Dynasty, the show we watch on Wednesday nights, with Crystal, Alexis, Blake, and Bobby Joe. I think of the opening credits when they're flying over the big houses and swimming pools, the circular driveways full of fancy cars, and then the writing in cursive, like on the cover of the Harlequin books Lisa reads, Dynasty. I can't imagine being married, and I tell her so. My mama's not married, and she says it's better that way. To have people come to visit you when you want to see them, but that to live together all the time is crazy, unhealthy. I guess that sounds right to me, and I tell Lisa that. It would be okay if I was alone with my man coming to see me when I wanted him to, I say, not married. As for bank, well, I don't know. Lisa says, girl, you crazy, and I shrug, pull back a little, and take a drag of my Newport. The menthol in the smoke hits my lungs like a little stab, but I don't put it out. The truth is, I don't really think that far ahead. Lying next to Lisa on the dirty mattress in the cold room is enough for me. It fills all of my senses, and I don't think about hardly anything else. Maybe somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about what my mother would say if she saw me. I'm wondering if she could imagine what Lisa's house is like, and what we do back here in this little room. It's not like a whole conscious thought or anything, but somewhere I feel like maybe I want my mother to find out that where I am may not be very safe, and I want her to tell me to come home. I want her to tell me that I can't go so far away from her while I'm so young. I can't get on the 44 late at night and ride to the other side of San Francisco to spend the night with people she doesn't know, with people she's never seen. Our child has long since gone to be with his grandparents for the summer. What it feels like to have white inside of me. What does it feel like to have white inside of you, she asks, and I can hear the burning curiosity in her voice. Physically, you mean? Yeah, physically. Are you aware that there is white in you? And does that whiteness feel different from blackness? What is it like to have thin curly hair and lighter skin? What does it feel like? Her question throws me, but only for a few seconds. My first response is, what is whiteness? And how can one feel white when race is just about the biggest cultural construct there is? She nods, but she's heard me deconstruct it a million times. Yeah, but if you're operating within it, come on, let yourself go. Do you ever feel anything different? Well, I say, the only time I feel white is when black folks point out something in me that they don't want to own in themselves, and so label as white. My tendency to psychoanalyze, for example, or my greater tolerance for cold. My hard-earned sense of entitlement is another example, or my insistence on physical beauty wherever I live, which ironically comes from the black side of my family tree. I also feel white when I compare myself physically to darker people and find myself lacking. I most experience whiteness then as a lack of some attribute or another, a lack of a certain kind of thickness, of a particular full, round, womanly shape that I find beautiful and associate with abundance. A lack of color, of the richness, depth, and luminosity that I see in skin darker than my own. A lack of a non-neurotic quality, a kind of freedom from obsessive mental anguish, which I admit I definitely lack, thanks to the Jewish folks in my life. I don't exactly think to myself, oh, I feel white at those particular moments, but I do carry a constant sense of not black in those areas, of deprivation in those areas, of wanting to have more of something than what I have. But is whiteness something I can feel on or in my body like a stomachache or a burn? No. I ask her if she feels black. Yes, is her instant reply. And because her mother was so color conscious, all her life associating goodness with lighter-skinned black people and evil with those darker, and because she went to one of the most color-stratified black colleges in the country, and because dark skin is generally reviled in a culture that deifies whiteness, she says she does feel an instant kinship with those who are darker, who share her brownness, who have been raised with the same shit hurled at them, the same messages to have to rewrite. She feels black, yes, all of the time. She says on the tail end of all that, so like when someone black starts talking about my people have been oppressed for so long, do you identify with those people? Do you feel that bond in your gut? Can you throw your fist up behind that? Do you think of black people as your people? I sense we are headed into a danger zone. Is this a test? I breathe. I do and I don't, I say. I have never been granted the luxury of being claimed unequivocally by any people or race. And so when someone starts talking about my people, I know that if we look hard enough or scratch at the surface long enough, they would have some problem with some part of my background, the part that's not included in this particular my people construction. It's not that I am not loved and accepted by friends and family. It is just that there is always that little thing that sets me slightly apart, the cracker lurking in my laugh. And then there's the question of how I can feel fully identified with my people, quote unquote, when I have other people too, who are not included in that grouping. And this feeling I have of having other people too is in effect even when the other people under consideration do not claim me. Does that make sense, I ask? She nods. What I do feel is an instant affinity with beings who suffer, whether they are my own, whatever that means, or not. Do I identify with the legacy of slavery and discrimination in this country? Yes. Do I identify with the legacy of anti-Jewish sentiment and exclusion? Yes. Do I identify with the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II? Yes. Do I identify with the struggle against brutality and genocide waged against the Native Americans in this country? Yes. Do I feel I have to choose one of these allegiances in order to know who I am, or in order to pay proper respect to my ancestors? No. Do I hope that what my ancestors love in me is my ability to muster compassion for those who suffer, including myself? Yes. It seems to me that this, too, is how memory works. What we remember of what was done to us shapes our view, molds us, sets our stance. But what we remember is past. It no longer exists. And yet still we hold on to it, live by it, surrender so much control to it. What do we become when we put down the scripts written by history and memory? When each person before us can be seen free of the cultural or personal narrative we've inherited or devised? When we ourselves can taste that freedom. I'm going to start reading now. Thank you.